Good evening, brethren. Welcome to another episode of Light Upon the Altar. Hope you've enjoyed the journey so far. Sorry I've been away for a few weeks. Life has just been life. But I do have a few more episodes to record and ready. I'm going to get one done today and maybe one done later this week and try to get caught back up. But before that, let's invoke the blessing of deity. Supreme ruler of the universe, we just invoke thy blessing on this, and may your words come through me, and may we bond together as brethren and joy and just enjoy each other's company. We are thankful for this great fraternity that brings so many of us together and from different walks of life and just makes this fraternity even sweeter. I hope these episodes have been impactful for people and they've enjoyed listening to them, and I hope I have brought some education to them. But these are all your words because it's only possible with you. And we're thankful for everything that you give to us. Amen. So mote it be. Alrighty. Good evening, brethren. We're going to get dived in. I got quite a bit to say. So this is episode 9. We're going to talk about mortality, immortality, and the faith of a Mason. Few truths sharpen a man's perspective like mortality. It has a way of cutting through the noise, silencing the distractions, and forcing us to confront what truly matters. In a world that constantly pushes us to chase more success, more recognition, more possessions, there is only one reality that humbles us all. Our time here is limited. Freemasonry does not avoid this subject. It does not dress it up in denial or push it aside in discomfort. Instead, it faces mortality reverently, thoughtfully, and honestly. Because to ignore death is to misunderstand life. Because at the end of the day, none of us will get out of this life without death. Only Jesus defeated the grave. Tonight, we're going to explore 3 powerful ideas. Morality as a teacher, immortality as hope, not speculation, and why legacy matters more than length of day. This is episode 9, Morality, Immortality, and the Faith of a Mason. Let's get into the first segment, Morality as a teacher. Morality is not just an ending. It is a teacher. And if we're willing to listen, it teaches clearly. Most men live as through time is abundant. Sorry, let me repeat that. Most men live as though time is abundant. As though there will always be another chance, another day to fix the relationship, another opportunity to pursue purpose, another moment to become who they were meant to be. But morality, it tells us a different story. It reminds us that time is not guaranteed, it is given. And anything given can also be taken away. In Masonry, we are symbolically reminded of this truth. Not to create fear, but to create awareness. Because awareness leads to intentional living. Let me ask you something. If you truly knew your time was short, what would you change? Would you spend more time with your family? Speak words you've been holding back. Let go of pride, anger, resentment. Pursue something meaningful instead of comfortable. That's the power of morality. And I'm sure there's some things in most of our lives that we look back and wish we had more time. And sometimes, there's a great song by Cody Johnson, and it just talks about capturing that time. If it's there, just seize the moment. Carpe diem, guys. Just life is so fragile, and we got to live it as if every day is our last. But not to get off on the sidetrack, that's the power of morality. It clarifies, it strips away illusion, it forces us to evaluate what matters to us. What endures? And what is simply a distraction? Too many men spend their lives climbing ladders, only to realize too late they were leaning against the wrong wall. Morality corrects that, if we allow it. The question isn't whether we will die. The question is whether we will live with that truth in mind. Because a man who remembers his morality speaks more carefully, acts more purposefully, loves more deeply, and wastes less time on things that don't matter. Masonry teaches us to live in such a way that when our time comes, we are not filled with regret, but with peace. And that's just where we work on that perfect ashlar through our life, and we live out our Masonic teachings, just not inside the lodge, but outside the lodge. Because if we don't apply it to our life, if we don't go out and do these things and apply it to our life to become better men, then we're just going through the motions. Next, we're going to jump into immortality is hope, not speculation. Now let's turn to something just as important, but often misunderstood. Immortality. Freemasonry does not attempt to define the afterlife in rigid terms. It does not demand uniform belief or doctrine. Instead, it speaks symbolically, pointing towards something greater, without claiming full knowledge of it. Why? Because some truths are meant to be argued. They are meant to be lived. The idea of immortality in Masonry is not about speculation, it's about hope. A hope grounded in faith, moral accountability, and the belief that our lives have meaning beyond the material world. This hope does two things. First, it humbles us. It reminds us that we are not the ultimate authority, because we're not. That there is something higher than ourselves, something we answer to. Second, it elevates us. It calls us to live better, to act justly, to walk uprightly, because our actions matter beyond the present moment. And we got to apply that to our everyday lives. We're called to do better, act justly, and walk uprightly before God and the several stations of life. But here's the key. Masonry does not tell you exactly what comes next. It tells you how to live now in light of that possibility. Because a man who lives as though his actions echo beyond this life, they become more honest, more disciplined, more compassionate, more accountable. And, I think about what Freemasonry has done and intertwined also with my faith and what I do at church and so on and so forth. But, it has made me become such a better man when I apply these doctrines to my life. I'm more honest, not only with just fellow mankind, but with myself. More disciplined in the things that I do, more compassionate, more accountable to not just my fellow neighbor or family, just to myself as well. These apply not just to who we interact with, they apply to who we are as people as well. Immortality, then, is just not about what happens after death. It's about how the belief in something greater shapes how we live today. Faith. Real faith is not proven in words. It's proven in conduct. And Masonry challenges every man to align his conduct with the highest moral standard he knows. Next, let's dive into legacy over length. Let's talk about legacy. Because this is where everything comes together. A long life, poorly lived, leaves very little behind, but a short life lived with purpose, integrity, and love can leave an impact that echoes for generations. Masonry asks a powerful question. What will remain when you are gone? Not how much money you made. Not how many titles you held, not, or how successful you appeared. And the great thing about Masonry is when we enter that lodge room, we all enter on the same level. But here are some things that will. Who did you help? Who did you help along the way? What did you build? Are you proud of what you're leaving behind? How did you treat others? Did you leave things better than you found them? I know that was a lesson that my father taught me very early. If you borrow something or something like that, or you start on something, you always take it back. One, if you're doing it for somebody, you do it better than you ever would for yourself. But if you borrow a tool from somebody or whatever the case may be, you always take it back cleaner than what it was beforehand. It was a very good lesson. Legacy is not built at the end of life. It's built daily. Let that sink in. Your legacy is built every day. And rents due every day. And small, consequent actions. Things like keeping your word. Showing up when it's hard. Integrity, doing the right thing when no one is watching. Being a man your family can rely on. That's legacy. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. You don't control how long you live, but you fully control how well you live. Some men chase longevity. Masonry calls us to chase meaning, because meaning is what remains. Think about the men who impacted your life. Pause and think about that as you're listening to this. Who made profound impacts in your life? And this just doesn't have to be a parent. It could be a boss. It could be a person of clergy. It could be somebody you just met at a coffee shop. Chances are it wasn't because they lived the longest. It was because they lived with purpose. They lived with strength. They lived with integrity. They lived in faith. That's what stays. That's immortality in a very real sense. Not just after life, after death, but influences that outlives you. It's going to be a relatively short episode, but I'm going to start wrapping it up because time is limited. To live mindful of morality is to live intentionally. It means you stop wasting time. You stop chasing empty things. You start focusing on what truly matters. Masonry does not ask you to fear death. It asks you to respect it, to learn from it, and to let it shape how you live. Because in the end, a good man is not measured by how long he lived, but by how well he used the time he was given. So tonight, take a moment and ask yourself, if your time were shorter than you expected, would you be proud of your living? And if not, what needs to change? Starting now. Until next time, keep building, keep improving, and keep your light upon the altar. So mote it be, brothers.